We often perceive indifference as a sign of strength, particularly in a woman who appears unfazed after a relationship ends. Yet, beneath this carefully constructed facade, a complex tapestry of emotions may be unfolding. The very things she pretends to disregard, memories, shared experiences, and the absence of her former partner, can weigh heavily on her heart. The laughter that seems effortless, the nonchalant dismissal of the past, could be a carefully orchestrated act of survival, a shield against the pain that threatens to overwhelm her. The pain she conceals is not a manifestation of weakness, but a testament to the depth of her feelings and the significance of what she has lost. To assume she emerges unscathed from this experience is to fundamentally misunderstand the profound impact it can have on her. However, the true revelation lies not only in understanding her pain, but also in recognizing the mirror it holds up to ourselves, prompting crucial self-reflection. The way she reacts, the choices she makes, speaks volumes not just about her inner world, but about the choices and actions that led to this juncture. It presents a critical turning point, an opportunity to either stagnate in the quagmire of regret or emerge stronger, wiser, and more self-aware than ever before. The journey towards this understanding begins with unraveling the intricate dynamics of regret, recognizing the pitfalls of desperation, embracing the power of stoicism, and ultimately, discovering the liberating force of indifference. This essay delves into these concepts, offering a roadmap for navigating the complexities of relationships, understanding the female psyche, and ultimately, achieving a state of inner peace and self-reliance. One of the most significant truths about women, particularly in matters of love and relationships, is their reluctance to openly acknowledge their mistakes. This isn't to suggest they are immune to regret. Rather, their ego, meticulously cultivated sense of self-esteem, and societal pressures often prevent them from readily admitting any wrongdoing. Our society tends to reinforce this behavior, with friends offering validation and the allure of new romantic possibilities, creating the illusion of having leveled up, reinforcing the notion that moving on is always the superior option. When a woman decides to end a relationship, she is often met with a chorus of encouragement, rather than prompting introspection and self-awareness. Initially, she might experience a sense of liberation, a feeling of shedding a burden. She might actively project an image of carefree independence, perhaps through social media posts showcasing her enjoying life, signaling to the world that she is unbothered by the breakup. She may even pursue new relationships, convinced that she has found a superior partner, a true upgrade. This is the narrative she presents to the world, the story she crafts for public consumption. However, behind this carefully constructed facade lies a different reality, one that unfolds in the quiet, solitary moments when the distractions of daily life fade away. Regret doesn't strike like a lightning bolt. It creeps in insidiously, silently occupying the spaces where confidence once resided. It surfaces in the late hours of the night, when she is alone with her thoughts and vulnerabilities. It is triggered by seemingly innocuous reminders, a familiar place, a lingering scent, a poignant song, that evoke memories of the past relationship. It manifests most painfully when she encounters her former partner thriving without her, displaying a resilience and self-sufficiency that she didn't anticipate. This is where many men often miscalculate. They assume that by pleading, convincing, or relentlessly attempting to prove their worth, they can somehow persuade her to see the error of her ways and return to the relationship. However, the truth is often the opposite. The more a man chases, begs, or pleads, the more he inadvertently reinforces her conviction that leaving him was the correct decision. His desperation becomes a source of validation for her, reaffirming her perception of having held all the power in the relationship. The dynamic shifts dramatically when the man withdraws, not as a manipulative tactic, but from a genuine understanding of his own self-worth. When he ceases to provide her with the attention and ego-boosting validation she has come to expect, something profound begins to change. A seed of doubt is planted in her mind. She begins to question her decision, wondering if she made a mistake. The absence of his reaction, the unexpected silence, becomes more potent than any words he could have uttered. Men who grasp this principle don't resort to begging, seeking closure, or wasting their energy attempting to salvage what is irretrievably broken. They step away, focusing on their own growth and evolution. In doing so, they compel the woman to confront something deeply uncomfortable, her own choices. Deep down, despite her outward demeanor, she experiences a flicker of doubt, a nagging sense that she might have made the wrong decision. But by the time this realization dawns on her, it is often too late. The act of begging represents a profound weakness in a man, a forfeiture of his dignity, power, and self-respect. A man on his knees, pleading for a woman to stay, effectively relinquishes everything that made him attractive to her in the first place. Once these fundamental qualities are lost, so too is her respect. It is crucial to understand that when a woman decides to leave a relationship, she has typically emotionally detached herself long before the physical departure. She has already rationalized her decision, convincing herself that it is the best course of action for her. Therefore, when a man resorts to begging, he is merely confirming her pre-existing beliefs, validating her decision to leave. Society often perpetuates the notion that fighting for love entails demonstrating unwavering devotion, openly displaying vulnerability, and wearing one's heart on one's sleeve. However, in reality, begging does not make a woman recognize a man's worth. It only reinforces her perception of his desperation. It solidifies the idea that she was the prize, and he was merely fortunate to have had her attention. A woman does not regret leaving a man who begs. She feels validated by his actions. It serves as proof that she held the upper hand all along. However, the dynamic shifts dramatically when a man chooses a different path. Instead of chasing after her, he retreats into silence. Instead of vying for her attention, he disappears into the shadows. This unexpected response can be deeply unsettling for a woman. Most women anticipate a man to crumble in the aftermath of a breakup. They expect a barrage of texts, lengthy emotional messages, and perhaps even grand gestures in a desperate attempt to win her back. They have witnessed this scenario play out countless times before and assume that he will react in a predictable manner. But when none of that occurs, when there is only silence, it forces her to confront her own assumptions and motivations. Humans are fundamentally driven by a need for validation. When a woman leaves a relationship, she expects to be reassured that she was valued, that her presence mattered. However, when a man withholds that satisfaction, she is left grappling with doubt and uncertainty. Doubt, in this context, is more potent than love, more haunting than regret. A man who begs confirms his own weakness, while a man who walks away leaves a lingering question mark in her mind. Therefore, the next time you feel the urge to reach out, to plead, to fight for something that is already lost, ask yourself, do I want to be remembered as a pitiable memory or a mystery she regrets losing? The journey towards mastering one's emotions begins with acknowledging and confronting pain. When a woman leaves, the initial sensation is often a sharp, hollow ache in the chest, an emptiness where her presence once resided. The world seems muted, not in a serene way, but more like a void consuming one's thoughts, filling the mind with unanswered questions. This is precisely the reaction that she anticipates. Women are often acutely aware of men's struggles with emotions. They expect to see anger, desperation, perhaps even a complete emotional breakdown. They have witnessed men relentlessly texting, unexpectedly appearing, and desperately trying to bargain their way back into a woman's life. They are familiar with this narrative and assume that the man will react in a similar fashion. However, what happens when he deviates from this predictable script? What happens when, instead of succumbing to grief, he cultivates a sense of stillness? When, instead of reacting impulsively, he regains control over his emotions? This is where the power of Stoicism emerges. A Stoic man does not shy away from pain. He confronts it head-on. He doesn't wallow in self-pity or seek validation from a woman who has already chosen to leave. He understands that suffering is a transient state, while dignity is a permanent attribute. Emotional mastery is not about suppressing one's feelings, pretending to be indifferent, or forcing oneself to act numb. It is about cultivating the ability to experience the full spectrum of emotions, sadness, anger, confusion, without allowing them to dictate one's actions. The moment you gain control over your emotions, you gain control over the situation. When she perceives a man's unwavering composure, it disrupts her expectations and plants a seed of doubt in her mind. She questions why he isn't visibly broken, why he isn't desperately chasing after her. That silence, that controlled demeanor, speaks volumes, conveying a message far more powerful than any words could express. Weak men resort to begging and impulsive reactions, while strong men cultivate an aura of untouchability. Therefore, when the storm of emotions rages within, allow it to run its course, but remain steadfast. In the end, the man who masters himself is the man who can never be truly abandoned. There is arguably no greater wound to a woman's ego than a man's complete indifference. Anger, sadness, and even hatred, while negative emotions, still acknowledge her existence and grant her a certain level of power. Indifference, however, strips her of the very thing she craves most: validation. Women expect men to react, to chase, to display signs of pain when she walks away. She assumes that she will remain a presence in his thoughts, an imprint on his heart. She believes that even in her absence, she continues to exert a certain degree of control over him. But what happens when she doesn't receive that reaction? What happens when he stops viewing her social media stories, ceases reacting to her posts, and completely ignores her existence? What happens when, instead of longing for her return, he immerses himself in his own life and pursues his own purpose? This is where doubt begins to creep in. A woman's greatest fear is not a man who hates her, but a man who forgets her. When a man forgets her, it implies that she was never as significant as she believed. It means that she was merely a fleeting chapter in his life, not the defining narrative. Indifference is the most unsettling response because it forces her to question her own significance. Did I even matter? This question can be deeply unsettling. Anger and heartache still bind you to her, but indifference represents freedom and power. It is the one weapon she cannot effectively combat. Therefore, let go, not with resentment or bitterness, but with complete detachment. The moment you stop caring is the moment she begins to wonder why. In the aftermath of a breakup, many men fall into predictable patterns. Some spiral downward, engaging in self-destructive behaviors such as excessive drinking, wasting time, and numbing themselves with distractions. Others swing in the opposite direction, desperately trying to prove that they have moved on, posting exaggerated gym selfies, forcing fake smiles, and making sure she witnesses their progress. Both approaches are indicative of weakness and desperation. However, a Stoic man adopts a completely different strategy. He rebuilds, not for her benefit or for external validation, but for his own personal growth and self-improvement. He does so in silence, without public announcements, performative displays, or any need to showcase his achievements. He focuses on quiet, disciplined progress. Nothing is more unsettling for a woman than the realization that she lost a man who improved himself without her. Initially, she might not notice the changes. She might assume that he is just another guy stuck in the past, secretly hoping for her return. But over time, the whispers begin. She hears about the changes in his physique, the newfound energy in his life, and the quiet confidence in his demeanor. One day, she might stumble upon a photo, not one intentionally staged to impress her, but a candid snapshot capturing his self-assurance. That is the moment when the realization hits her. She thought he would be broken, but instead, he has become untouchable. What's worse, he achieved this transformation without her. That is the moment when regret begins to seep in, when she questions whether she made a mistake. But by then, it is often too late. The new version of him, the man he has become, has no need for the past. He has already emerged victorious. Women rarely return to a relationship because they genuinely miss their former partner. Instead, they often return because they have lost control over him. When a woman ends a relationship, she typically expects to maintain a certain degree of influence over her former partner's thoughts and emotions. Even though she has physically walked away, she assumes that he will continue to yearn for her, believing that she can return at any time and find him waiting, hopeful, and desperate for another chance. However, when a man shatters this expectation, when he disappears into his own growth, remaining unbothered and unreachable, that is when she begins to experience a sense of panic. Initially, she savors the freedom, the attention, and the excitement of new possibilities. She convinces herself that she has leveled up by moving on. But time has a way of revealing the truth. She begins to compare the men she meets to her former partner, realizing that they lack his depth, his presence, and his unwavering confidence, qualities she once overlooked. Suddenly, nostalgia sets in. She starts to question whether she made the right decision. She replays old memories, often rewriting them in her mind, convincing herself that she might have left something valuable behind. So, she reaches out, not necessarily because she loves him or genuinely regrets her decision in the way he might think, but because she wants to gauge whether she still has control over him. Does he still desire her? Will he respond instantly? Can she still pull him back in if she tries? This is not an act of love. It is an exercise in ego. This is the point where many men falter. They mistake this moment for redemption, for a second chance at love. They eagerly welcome her back into their lives without hesitation, inadvertently confirming that she never truly lost them in the first place. However, a man who has evolved views the situation differently. He doesn't rush to respond or revert to old patterns. He recognizes the distinction between love and control and remains unmoved by her attempts to reassert her dominance. When she realizes that she has genuinely lost him, that is when true regret begins to surface. It is at that point that he has truly won. The moment she reaches out, her message arrives unexpectedly, seemingly out of the blue. It might be a simple, "Hey," a nostalgic, "I was just thinking about you," or a casual, "How have you been?" At first glance, these messages might appear harmless, innocent, or even sincere. However, it is crucial not to be deceived. This is not necessarily a confession of regret or a sign that she wants him back for the right reasons. It is often a test, a subtle attempt to gauge her continued influence over him. She is not necessarily looking to rekindle the flame of love. She is primarily checking her power over him. If he responds instantly, if he sounds overly eager, if he engages as if nothing has happened, she has her answer. He was waiting, he was hoping, and in that moment, she knows she still holds a piece of him. However, a man who has genuinely moved on sees through this charade. He doesn't rush to reply or fall for the bait. He maintains control of the situation. So, what is the appropriate course of action? First, resist the urge to respond immediately. Time is a valuable tool. Allow her to wonder, to experience uncertainty. Second, keep the response brief and indifferent. Avoid any displays of warmth, nostalgia, or opportunities for deeper conversation. A simple, neutral reply such as, "Doing well, hope you're good too," is sufficient. Third, maintain emotional detachment. If she persists in trying to elicit a more engaged response, remain neutral and avoid giving her what she is seeking, validation that she still matters to you. When she realizes that she cannot manipulate him or pull him back in, when she perceives that he truly doesn't care anymore, that is when genuine regret begins to set in. That is when he truly emerges victorious. The ultimate triumph lies not in eliciting regret from her, but in reaching a state of being where her regret no longer holds any significance. Many men remain trapped in a cycle of waiting for her to notice their absence, to feel guilty for her actions, or to ultimately return. However, a man who masters himself transcends these desires. He ceases to wonder if she misses him and instead focuses on becoming the greatest version of himself. When he evolves beyond her, when his life becomes so fulfilling, so powerful, so untouchable, her feelings, her regret, her nostalgia, and her what-ifs become irrelevant. This embodies the essence of Stoic masculinity. A man governed by his emotions is enslaved by them, while a man driven by purpose is truly free. When a man shifts his focus inward towards discipline, growth, and personal mastery, he detaches himself from the need for external validation. His life becomes his own. In that process, something profound occurs. She senses it, even if she never expresses it. She recognizes that she has lost something of value. She observes the man he has become, the strength in his silence, the power in his presence, and the absence of neediness. Nothing wounds the ego more than the realization that she was never truly needed in the first place. This is not about engaging in manipulative games. It is about achieving freedom. The real victory lies not in making her regret leaving, but in reaching a point where you no longer care whether she does or not. She may never explicitly admit it, but she will feel it. She may never utter the words, "I made a mistake," or "I regret losing you." Her pride will likely prevent her from making such a confession. However, deep down, beneath the surface of her carefully curated life, beneath the social media smiles and the stories she shares with her friends, she will experience regret. Regret doesn't manifest with a grand pronouncement. It seeps in during the quiet moments, when she is alone at night and the silence seems deafening. It surfaces when she casually scrolls through your social media profile and observes you thriving without her. It arises when she is with someone new, but something feels amiss because he isn't you. She won't admit it, but she will feel it. Many men make the mistake of waiting for that admission, hoping for that validation. However, the man who has truly emerged victorious, the man who has mastered himself, does not need to hear it. By the time her regret sets in, by the time she begins to question whether she made the wrong choice, he is already too far ahead to care. He has built a life so fulfilling, so powerful, so beyond her reach that her regret is rendered meaningless. This is the ultimate truth. The greatest revenge is not proving her wrong. The greatest victory is not hearing her admit that she lost you, and the greatest power lies in never needing her validation in the first place. Therefore, do not wait for an apology that will never come or seek closure in words that will never be spoken. Your closure is who you have become. You began with the assumption that she felt nothing, but now you understand that what appears to be indifference often masks deep-seated wounds. However, this is not about her. It is about you, about understanding that your power was never in her hands. She didn't break you. She merely revealed what needed to change. Take that realization and use it to propel yourself forward. Stand taller, move smarter, and never allow someone else's silence to dictate your worth.